I think I have quite an affection to the British media and press in general. I think we all have to give credit to the Brits for actually building up a political system based on certain most pillar corner institutions, and the media is one of them. The competition is something you couldn't live without. And it's all very nice when people here complain about the press interfering into their personal lives, the politicians. But I advise them to try to live in a society without the free press. Let's assume, and this is a real fact, the markets are going against the printed media. It's quite clear. We see redundancies. We even could foresee foreclosures. And what do you do about it to save it? You find some way of interacting at first stage between big brands and their audiences, good journalists, and online newsrooms, and maybe some new gadgets which simplify of actually the reader's access to the product. This is just an idea yet, but the idea I've been discussing for more than a year with some proprietors and editors-in-chief and famous journalists. And how it's going to look like, nobody knows. But let's see, for example, have a look at the thing called ProPublica in the United States, which is just an attempt in this direction. What has to do Evening Standard, its readers, its normal sort of topics picked up and covered, with Russia? Not much. I mean, people here live a different life. It's a different city. It's a different culture, a different history. So we are far from each other. On the other side, I mean, we do live in a global world, with the media becoming more and more online, and with the fastness of news being spread. And it's only the media who can interfere. I mean, if somebody else interferes into internal Putin's politics, I don't think he will be happy. But what can he do about newspapers or TV channels sort of portraying him this way or another and producing an opinion? What about, for example, Evening Standard probably sold in Russia? We've got lots of expatriates living in Moscow. What about sort of common investigations joining forces with some other newspapers? I think one of the British newspapers tried to catch me on my preferences as far as Gordon Brown or David Cameron is concerned. And they thought it is a trap. They said, how charismatic is Gordon Brown? I said, look, he is. But it's much more important how he deals with the crisis. I think he does know his job. So where does charisma come in here? We have a very charismatic Prime Minister. He's got 80% rating, much higher than Gordon Brown. President Putin, he doesn't have any plan at all. He's doing a very bad job in running the government. On David Cameron, I think he strengthened the party a lot. And you as a nation now have again sort of a real competition. This is good for the country and for the people. You can choose. You'll have election fairly soon. Why should I interfere? You're sort of much cleverer than I am to make a proper judgment. And I wish the newspaper being partial, unbiased, interesting, attractive, and that's it. I don't want to live without Novaya Gazeta. I'm not a politician. I just preserve and cherish the chance to speak out, which I didn't have. I've spoken out with this anecdote once in a kitchen, and I've suffered for that for quite a long time. There was a story, as the first part of my career as a foreign intelligence officer was quite a ruin. And I've just discovered recently it had to do with an anecdote. I think I've told it in the audience of 3 or 4 people drinking in a kitchen, which was a tradition. And some of them reported. One of them, I know who, but the guy died. He was my classmate. And the anecdote was that at some party congress, at the end of it, they would bring an old worker who claimed to have seen Lenin twice in his life. And at the end of the party congress, they will invite him to speak. He's like 80 years old, very old, and walks sort of a very with an effort. And he comes up to the podium and says, well, the first time it was, I remember, as far as I recall, 1916 in Finland, and I was in the sauna, and it was Russian sauna with a steam. It was nice company, some vodka, excellent snow outside, and I'm sitting there naked, have both of my feet in bowls of water, hot and cold, and the door opens, lots of cold gets out, and some very ugly man, unattractive, and you can see he's just evil looking and evil wishing, with red hair, comes in, gets to me immediately, said, "Look, man, couldn't you give me one of the bowls with the water?" And I reflect, well, I give him the hot one, I'll stay with the hot one, with the cold one. How do I do the sort of a normal sort of a sauna, the steam sauna practices? So I said, "Look, man, go fuck yourself." And this is how I saw Lenin for the first time. And this audience in his party congress, they get sort of frenzied. They just get iced, and there's silence for a minute, and then somebody who's clever enough says, "Oh, well, look, I mean, Alexander Petrovich sort of says he saw Lenin twice in his life. Maybe he tells us a story about the second." And yes, no problem. It was 1922 in St. Petersburg. I worked as a machine tool operator. I was doing something in the factory. The door opened, and a big group of armed men came. The first one, very tall, in this leather jacket, with a beard like a goat. Dzerzhinsky. Yes, Dzerzhinsky. Yeah, this one, the KGB boss. And then lots of armed guards. And this red-haired man, this ugly man, whom I saw in Finland, in sauna. And I thought, oh, that's the end of me. And I tried to hide, but they saw me, came out, surrounded me. And the man with the red hair, already bald, came out and said, "Look, man, aren't you the person who has refused to give me the bowl with water in 1916 in Finland?" And I thought, well, if I say it's me, they're going to kill me immediately. If I say, no, it's not me, they will torture me in Lubyanka prison, and that will be the same fate. So I thought and said, "Look, man, go fuck yourself." This is how I saw Lenin for the second time. So because of this anecdote, they've kept me as an interpreter without giving in officers sort of epaulets for quite a long time.